Bringing you news tonight of a new $21 billion veteran benefit package signed today by the president. But I am not, because that bill died in the Senate yesterday when it failed to get the 60 votes it needed to overcome a filibuster. And you will never guess which party killed it. I mean, we all know which party is on the side of veterans, right? They tell us all the time. Remember when they all headed to the World War II memorial during the government shutdown to complain that the other anti-vet party was shutting veterans out?
I will go anywhere, anytime a veteran needs me, and I can get there to help. And I've done it my whole life. It's who I am.
They deserve being able to get into this memorial.
Let me ask you this.
We need to open
politics?
it up.
One of you who served our country, who risked your lives, let me just say, thank you.
We will not be timid in calling out any who would use our military, our vets, as pawns in a political game.
Got that? Republicans will call out anybody who wants to use veterans as pawns. Well, guess what they did when Democrats, led by independent Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, tried to expand medical, education, and job training benefits for the nation's 22 million veterans and their families. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell tried to add an unrelated poison pill amendment to that veterans bill that would impose new sanctions on Iran. Why try to tack the Iran sanctions amendment onto the vets bill? As McConnell told reporters, we've been trying for months to get a debate and a vote on the sanctions bill. That is a bill that we've reported on this program. It's backed by Republicans and many Democrats. It would impose a new sanctions regime on Iran, which both the White House and the Iranians say would threaten the historic talks that right now represent the best chance we have to bring a peaceful resolution to Iran's nuclear program. Think about that for a moment. Republicans were pushing an amendment that could heighten the possibility of another war, this time with Iran, at the very same time they were working to kill a bill that would have helped the veterans of the last two wars. This from the party that would never use veterans as political pawns. Harry Reid, for one, was not happy.
All 26 veterans organizations, including the American Legions and the Veterans of Foreign Wars, supported that legislation, plus 24 other veterans organizations. And what happens over here? The Republicans, they figured out a way to say no. They always do that.
The GOP also argued the veterans bill cost too much, and it wasn't paid for. And this is really important. The $21 billion for the bill was set to come out of what's called the Overseas Contingency Operation Fund, the fund used to pay for the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Now, there's some money left over in that fund because we are drawing down, have drawn down in Iraq, are drawing down in Afghanistan. Republicans say that money doesn't count. They point out, as the conservative Heritage Action did in telling Republicans to vote no on this bill, that the money is not recognized as real savings by the Congressional Budget Office. And that is true. But so is this. That money is a fund that was earmarked for the wars that Democrats would instead like to use the people who fought in those wars. Had we planned to stay longer in Afghanistan, had we still been there in Iraq, believe you me, we would have spent that money. And that spending would have been very, very, very real. Or think about it this way. The CBO says this bill would have increased the deficit. And you know what I say? If you can run a deficit to go to war, you can run a deficit to take care of the people who fought in it. Joining me now is a sponsor of that veterans bill, the chair of the Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. Senator, the Heritage Action told conservatives and Republicans to vote no. They said the multi-billion-dollar bill fails to make necessary reforms to the system that is already overburdened and flawed, harming both veterans truly in need of assistance and taxpayers in the process. What do you say to that?
Well, I say they're dead wrong, and so does virtually every veterans organization in the country representing millions of veterans. Chris, what I have learned since I've been chairman of the Veterans Committee is the cost of war is much deeper and more significant than I think most people know. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of young men and women coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan with PTSD and TBI. We're talking about 2,300 of our soldiers who suffered wounds so that they're unable to have babies. We're talking in terms of older veterans. You have women, wives staying home, taking care of disabled vets, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, who get virtually no kinds of support from the federal government. You're talking about young people who were promised a college education after they left the service, not able to afford that education. You got a whole lot of issues out there that this legislation addressed, and that's why it had such enthusiastic support from the veterans community.
And the Republicans say we can't afford it.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Anybody who knows anything about Congress knows that our Republican friends are fighting hard and have given huge tax breaks. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars to the wealthiest people in this country. They support a situation where 1 out of 4 major corporations in this country doesn't pay a nickel in federal income taxes. That's okay. It's okay to go to war in Iraq and Afghanistan without figuring out how you're going to pay for it, just putting it on the credit card. What this bill does is take less than 2% from the OCO, from the OCO fund, less than 2%, to make life a little bit better for the men and women who put their lives on the line to defend us. And it really was quite incredible to see almost all Republicans, we got 2, almost all Republicans put their partisan loyalty ahead of the needs of the veterans of this country.
Are you going to take another run at it? You said you got 2, Dean Heller and who's the other senator?
Senator Moran of Kansas.
That's right, Senator Moran.
We are going to get
Dean
3
Heller.
more. No.
And you need 3 more. You're going to take another run at it.
Oh, we sure are. We're going to win this fight. And I look forward to coming back on the show talking about the victory.
I do too. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Joining me